Hi, my name's Alan Cowgill, and if we've never met before, I'm known as the guy that's cracked the code on finding private lenders. And if you don't know what private lenders are, that's fine. We're going to go through that in this training. I've got over 2 decades of real estate investing, and along the way, I found a very unique way to fund your real estate deals called private lending. I'm an author, national speaker. I speak all over the nation and into Canada, and I'm also a trainer. What we're going to do is go through what private lending is all about so that you can get the foundation of that. And if you already have private lenders, you need to be on this too, because there's a high likelihood I'm going to teach you things that you might not know. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm here for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to get more money in your bank account. Many people are here because they have a burning desire to take their real estate business to the next level, maybe quit that job and start making big chunks of money. I'm going to show you how you can get all the money you need to buy apartment complexes, commercial property, or single family homes, regardless of your credit or financial situation. I know many people are just getting started out there and they need funding for their deals. Other folks are doing deals with their own money. What I'm going to show you is who should use private lenders. If you're a beginner, there's no question about it. You got to know how to use private money, because the biggest hurdle you got to get over is how do you fund your deals. And then if you're an intermediate real estate investor, done a handful of deals, many times the lending institutions will shut you off. How do I know that one? Been there, done that. Had 4 properties, been doing business with this bank for a lot of years, and because they changed their internal rules, they shut me off. Nothing changed in my life. And so I had to get out and do something else. And I'll talk to you about that in just a little bit. And then if you're an experienced real estate investor, maybe you're using your own money in the deals, and there's a lot better use for your money. What I'm going to train you on is the best, the easiest, the cheapest, and the safest way to fund your deals. Isn't that the bottom line? Isn't that what you're looking for? A little bit about myself so you get to know me better. I was out in the corporate world. I got a quarter century in corporate America, and I was working for a company called Honeywell. And the department I was in made those flashing lights on the airplanes. I was in the aerospace division, and even though I was successful as a middle manager, I was struggling financially, and I couldn't make ends meet. I knew that if things didn't change my life, I was going to end up retiring poor. Kind of let you know, I was living in a little dinky 2-bedroom apartment, and I had this old beat up car that I needed to put some maintenance into, but I was too busy using my money to pay the other bills. And I put that on the back burner. And one night, on a very first date, this car paid me back. You know this is going to be an ugly story right from the start, right? Well, I pulled up in front of this apartment complex to walk this lady home from our very first date. Halfway up to the door, I turned around and looked, and my car had burst into flames. When I speak all over the nation, people yell out, "Yeah, hot date." Well, it was more like first and last date. You know how embarrassing it is to stand there holding her hand, watching a fireman put my car out? Every morning when she woke up, the remembrance of that date was a burnt char mark in the parking lot. Well, it really made an impression on her. And here's this middle manager, he couldn't even afford to get his car fixed. I wanted to do something different in my life. I wanted to invest. I looked into franchises, but they take money. What I decided to do was take my whole federal tax return and plunk it down on lottery tickets. Yeah, that was my way of investing back then. Lost on every ticket. Now you probably think not the sharpest tool in the shed. Well, it kept me frustrated, not knowing what to do with my life. And one night I couldn't sleep. And so I get up and I started to channel surf, and I hit one of those real estate infomercials. And it got my attention. And I got thinking about it. I thought, maybe I can do this. But I didn't have any money. I'd spent my money that day on lottery tickets. But they'd take a credit card at 2 o'clock in the morning. I ordered that home study system, and I became enthralled with real estate. That year I bought 2 properties, the next year 5, the following year 18. I've bought and sold hundreds of properties now. Half the deals I do are without monthly payments. Just think about having $1 million loaned to you and you don't have to worry about monthly payments. How would you like to learn that technique? Well, I'm going to teach you that in just a little bit. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. When I look back at my life, I had all these failures going on, these humorous failures, and I knew that I was going to retire poor, because I heard that 90% of People that work at JOB all their life retire at poverty level. I wanted to do something else. And wouldn't it be better if, when you look back on your life, you have all these phenomenal successes? I realize that it's all about the choices we made. It was my choice not to get my car fixed, and that plan didn't work out very well. And then my choice to buy lottery tickets, and that sure didn't work out very well. And then it was my choice to get into real estate, and that changed the rest of my life. And let's talk about you. You've taken the time to invest in your most important asset, which is your education. That is the baseline for this business, and I applaud you for that. When I get done, you got three options. Option number one is to do nothing. What do you get when you do nothing? Nothing, right? Option two is to hear this thing about private lending and go out and start to get private money yourself, but that can be one of the roughest ways to go. And number three is embrace what I'm teaching. Take a lot of notes and use the techniques that I'm going to teach you tonight. I want to take you back how I got started, and I think this will resonate with you, because this is how so many people started. I started out with banks, as you see there on the screen, and they were friendly to real estate investors, but one day the regulators came in and looked at the bank's books and told them they could not do those type of loans anymore. What that did is it shut my funding down instantly within 24 hours. So I had to do something else. And I went out and I got a line of credit. Now, the problem with the line of credit, a couple things. One is you max it out, you shut your own business down. And number two is every year they can call that thing due. So I gravitated over to hard money lenders. Now, wow, what a lesson I learned there. They're expensive. They're the most expensive thing going out there. And then I've got creative financing out there on that list, and we all do creative financing. That's exactly what we do. We look for motivated sellers and put together creative financing deals. The reason I put that on the board is because what happens is many times real estate investors will get out, do a great creative finance deal. Maybe it's the deal of the century for them, but they don't have the money to fund the deal. Let's say the person wants walk-in money and you don't have the money for that, or you need rehab money. You don't have the money for that. You see, with private money, you don't face that, because when you create a creative real estate deal, you will have the money to take care of what you need. Now read the bottom of this slide. Not in control of my financing. If you're doing anything on that board, anything on that screen, and creative financing without having the funds to back up your offer, then you're not in control. Somebody else is in control, and that's my point. Now, when I speak all over the nation, I've taken surveys, and I find out that 85% is doing this. They're going to banks. And so I have to assume that maybe you are thinking about going to banks. Let's take a stark look at reality of what you're signing up for. Number one is you can lose some of the best deals because somebody with all cash comes along and buys it out from underneath you. You got to have money down. Mine wanted 20% down. That's a showstopper for maybe you. Points and loan fees, and granted they aren't high, but they're still eroding your profit base. They won't finance you some unusual deals. I'll show you some of mine during this training that they wouldn't have touched, but I made tens of thousands of dollars on them, all because I had the power of instant cash, of private money. They like monthly payments. I told you half of my deals are without monthly payments, and frankly, by the time I'm done with this training, you could actually learn how to structure your deals to where 100% of your deals are without monthly payments. Imagine that. A bank takes time. I remember back when I wanted to buy a duplex, and the bank appraised it, praised okay, my credit's okay. Took the bank 4.5 months to make up their mind. That's crazy. Today I can get an offer accepted on a Monday. I can own the property by Friday of the same week. I bet you'd rather live in that world. And you got no relationship with the bank, but you think you do. You are lulled into a sense of security because you got somebody's name and their business card. I'm here to tell you, you got air. You don't have anything, because they can quit, retire, get laid off, and you got to start all over again or get promoted. And they'll change the rules like they did on me. You are disqualified from borrowing when you have too many properties. Now let me ask you, why are you on this training? You're on this training so you learn how to buy properties and how to finance them. You got poor credit, they aren't going to touch you. The income doesn't satisfy the bank, they aren't going to touch you. But the biggest economy of all, so many of us, myself included, we get into real estate to get out of our JOB. But the day you quit your job is the day the bank will quit you. How do I know that one? That's right, been there, done that one. I quit my job and they wouldn't loan me money. And here I thought they would continue because I'd been running the business for a while on the side. You see, if you got into real estate to get out of your job and your business plan is to fund your deals with bank money, but the day you quit your job is the day the bank will quit you, you're building your business plan on sand. I want you to build your business plan on a rock solid foundation where it doesn't matter how many properties you got, doesn't matter what your credit is, doesn't matter what your income is, doesn't matter whether you got a JOB or not, you can still run this business. Now, where you can use private money? Well, on the residential side, that's my side, short sales, sweat equity, rehabs, wholesale, subject to luxury homes. Now, they don't have luxury homes where I live, but I'm sure they got them where you're at. Or over there on the commercial side. About 40% of my students are on the commercial side, where they're doing apartments and strip malls, office buildings, warehouses, and more. So what's a private lender look like? Well, the first one looked a lot like my mom, because it was. Let me tell you, Mom came into some money when my dad passed away. And she did what most folks would do. She took the money and plunked it down on a bank certificate of deposit. And she would drive 45 minutes one way to get a few pennies more on a bank CD. And I'm coming up through my real estate education. I hear this thing about hard money lenders and private lenders. And after a while, I got it untangled. I thought they were the same, but they're really dramatically different. With a hard money lender, they set all the rules, and they're nasty rules. And it's a lot better if you're the hard money lender. And actually, you could become one if you get enough private money. But with a private lender, I got to set the rules. So I went back to Mom and I said, look, you're getting this pull-to rate of return on a bank CD. I'll pay you 3, 4, 5 times what you're getting on a bank CD. I'll give you a mortgage, a promissory note, hazard insurance, and lender title insurance. And Mom jumped for joy and she started loaning me money. And then I got a second private lender. His name was Ed. Went out to his house, sat down at his kitchen table, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to tell you I couldn't answer all of his questions. But by the time we were done talking that night, he had enough confidence in me to loan me money. So I had 2 private lenders. But like maybe you, I was going down to the corner bank and getting money, and I had a JOB, and so for the next 4 years, I didn't get another private lender. Can you imagine the wealth building that I lost over that time period? I don't want that to happen to you. Well, the company then had a layoff, and I had honed my skills in real estate, and I volunteered. I quit the job and took the company package. And the problem of it is my timing was a little bit off. There was a downturn in the rental market. I had to evict some folks. I ended up with some empties, and I ended up with a negative $10,000 a month cash flow problem. I'd hit the wall, and banks wouldn't touch me. I'd been getting my money from banks, even though I had 2 private lenders. They weren't enough to carry the whole business, and I was in trouble. Well, then I thought back about my mom and about Ed, that second private lender, and I realized that the answer to my situation was to embrace this private lender concept and bring more private lenders into my life, more money. The problem of it is people would tell you to get private lenders, but they didn't tell you how. Do you think the how is kind of important? It's critical. It's critical. So I had to figure it out for myself. And so I put together a PowerPoint presentation. I'm highly skilled in corporate America doing PowerPoint presentations. And so it was just natural for me to put together a presentation that describes what I do with my real estate business and what I would do with their money if they loaned me money. And so I wanted to leverage my time. So I had group meetings with folks and started to bring money into my life that way. And fortunately, I found the roadmap, and that's exactly what I'm going to teach you right now. I'm known all over the nation as the guy that's cracked the code on finding private money, and you can do the same by just learning a few simple things that I've done. Let me share with you 3 days of my life, and what I'm going to illustrate here is different real estate deals and different exit strategies. So this property here, I used private money to buy it, and guy come along and he says, I love this place. He said, my wife loves it. He said, but I got credit bruises, and so I can't go to a bank, but I got $40,000 that I'd like to put down on this property. And if you'll be my bank, if you will own or finances. I knew in a nanosecond I was going to take these $40,000, and we did a land contract. In some states out there, it's called contract for the deed. It's the same thing. That was on a Monday, so I banked $40,000. The next day, I did a wholesale deal, and on this wholesale deal, what had happened was this. A wholesale deal is a great way to go if you're just starting out. Well, this wholesale deal, I had people that wanted to buy it. The problem of it is their money wasn't coming in until 1 week after my wholesale agreement expired. So I went back to the seller and asked them to extend the date. They wouldn't do it because they knew about my buyer. They knew they'd get more money from them than what they were getting from me. And so they were going to keep my earnest money and let my contract expire, and then let these other people buy the house. Well, I didn't think that was fair, and I have a safety net, and I think you should too. My safety net is private money. If you're doing a wholesale deal and you start bouncing up against that contract date, all you have to do is fund it with private money and then wholesale it after the fact. That's exactly what I did with this property. Went ahead and funded it, and a week later the people got their money in. I went ahead and closed on it. I walked away with $10,451 on that. That was on a Tuesday. Next day, I did a sweat equity deal. This property here, when you walk into it, if you put a marble down on the kitchen floor, it'll roll up against one wall. It's kind of slanted. But what happened here was I went in and I put a lockbox on the door, then walked through the house in about 6 to 10 minutes. And a guy comes along and he said, hey, I want this house. He says, I have the wherewithal to rehab a little bit. And he said, if you let me come on in and do the painting and things like that, he said, I'll buy it. Well, I'll be darned if he didn't do it. I've only been in this house about 10 minutes. And he come along and cashed me out on a Wednesday for $7,664. I know that's not a lot of money, but if you've only been in the place about 10 minutes, it's a good payday. So I made $58,115 on those 3 deals, different exit strategies on those. The big question is, how much of your money do you need to do a deal? None. I didn't have 1 penny in those deals, not 1 penny. One of the biggest items that can cripple your business, whether you're a beginner or seasoned investor, is poor cash flow. And your biggest holding cost is that monthly mortgage. And I said at the outset that I would teach you how to do deals and not have to worry about monthly mortgage payments. I'm going to do that right now. Let me give you the anatomy of the deal first. The property that you see on the screen there, little ranch house, lady wanted to sell it. She wanted to sell it for all cash. And I could do it. I could call up a private lender and buy it for all cash, but I noticed that it had a low interest first mortgage on it. And I wanted her to keep that mortgage out there and let me make payments on it so that I wouldn't have to pay more for a private lender to come in. So she agreed to do that as long as I gave her walking money. She wanted $39,000 walking money. Now that would stop maybe you. But if you got a private lender, it's a phone call. Picked up the phone, I called up a private lender. I had my private lender send in $50,000. I got a key and a deed on the property. The seller got $39,000 and she was tickled. And I had extra money. I had $11,000 extra. I want you to write this down. Always borrow extra. I always borrow extra, and you should too. Why? Because you could run into an unforeseen problem. You know, maybe you have to put a gas line in or something like that. It's better if you got the money. I did a little bit of landscaping on this, and if you could see it up there, you'd say, yeah, it is a little bit. So it left me some extra money, though. I had $8,000 extra out of that. And what did I do with that? I used the money to make the payments on that first mortgage. Doesn't that make sense? And so it takes all the pain out of doing these lease options. Now let me pull the curtain back and tell you about the lender. Her name's Libby, and she'd worked a job all of her life. And while working that job, she invested in the company's 401k program, and the company did some matching funds, and this grew over the years. And then Libby retired, but not knowing what to do with the money, and so typical of many people that leave a company, that she left her 401k in the company because she didn't know where to put it. Now, I'm going to give you the pot of gold right now, private money. So you're going to want to write this down. If you know somebody that has quit, retired, or gotten laid off, quit, retired, or gotten laid off, and they've left one of these 401ks in a company, they can roll that money over into a self-directed IRA. Write that down, self-directed IRA. So that's what Libby did after I talked to her. Now, if Libby needs money to live off of, she can pull money out of that every month. But she also has a big chunk of money she wants to make grow. That's where you and I come in. She can loan that money to us as long as it's in a self-directed IRA. Now, let me tell you about what interest you should be paying. And this fluctuates over time. When I got started in this business a couple decades ago, the going rate back then was 15% interest, and that's what I started to pay. And I know that seems exorbitant, but that's the going rate. And so I was paying 15% interest, and then I started to get the market changed, and I started to get feedback from my private lenders that 15% was too good to be true. And so I lowered my interest rate to keep them happy. Tough life, isn't it? So I lowered it to 10 and 12%. I did a split rate. 10% if they take monthly payments, 12% if they let the money accrue and they got paid when I got paid, which is when I sold the property. Now, in my wildest dreams, I never thought there'd be hardly anybody out there that would go for that second option to where they'd let the money accrue. But actually, every single one of these folks that have these 401ks and roll them over into a self-directed IRA, that's exactly what they wanted, because they wanted that higher interest rate. Now, the market shifted again. I've got students that are paying 4, 4.5, 5, 6% interest. Current going rate right now is between 6 and 8%. But like I said, when the market changes, so will the interest rate. But so to answer the question of doing no monthly payments, you could do that at the 6%. You don't have to do monthly payments on that. I'm just telling you what the range is 6 to 8%. Or if you have the wherewithal to have, like you have rentals to where money's coming in, you could do 6% and pay people monthly payments, and then other people you could pay 8% and let the money accrue. It's whatever your heart desires. I walked away with $45,900. Sold the place 3 months after I bought it, and walked away with a chunk of money. How much money did I have in it? Not a penny. Imagine not having monthly mortgage payments. What would that do for you and your family? Think about that. And imagine skyrocketing your cash flow by getting some of your profit when you buy. Remember that $11,000 I took out? Every single property you want to take some money out. Now, the other thing I want you to write down is I don't want you to suck every dime out of this. I don't want you to over leverage the property. I want you to leave a bigger chunk of money out there when you get ready to sell this place, because I don't want you to get upside down in it. But take a little bit of profit up front and leave the bigger chunk for later. Once you learn how, whenever you need more money to buy a property, you just plug in your system and more money comes out. You curious how I find people to loan me millions? Well, here's the 3 steps. You're going to want to write these down. Number 1 is you generate leads. Just like in buying property or selling property, you got to generate leads to find private lenders. And then you can send them information. In fact, I'll show you something that's pretty cool that I like to send to them. Or you can invite them to meet either at a group meeting, maybe even have lunch, or one-on-ones, whatever your heart desires. And then they pass or play. Now, I got to tell you, at that first group meeting I had, I kind of fell on my sword on that third item, but I fixed it in the second one, and I'm going to share that with you in just a minute. Now, here's the 4 steps to doing a fundraising luncheon. If you decide to do a luncheon, half my students do luncheons, half don't. They do one-on-ones. Schedule at a nice place for an hour. You want to make sure karaoke is not going on next door. How do you think I know that one? That's right. Happened to me. You want a nice, quiet atmosphere where they can pay attention to you. Number 2 is you generate leads. Well, I've got 16 ways to locate private lenders. For an example, people that you know, you could send postcards to. Now, approaching strangers, you can do that, but you have to ask for permission from the SEC before you do that. You're allowed to, but you just have to. There's just some rules on that. So don't jump off this webinar and start advertising to people that you don't know. Then you're going to respond to their voicemail. What I do is I call everybody. I have a Commendo voicemail box, and then I call everybody back about dinner time and see if they're in or not. And then I hold the luncheon. Pretty simple, isn't it? You know, we're talking about the roadmap. I mean, it's pretty simple. Now, I said on that step 3 with my luncheon, I fell on my sword. What happened was when I got to the last slide, I have 37 slides that I put together for the luncheon presentation or a one-on-one presentation. When I got to that last slide, I said, let's have lunch. Well, the problem with that is the people there, the potential lenders, they needed some direction from me and I needed feedback from them, and neither one of us got it. So it put me in an awkward position for the next, month or so, because I was on the phone kind of chasing them. And that's a bad posture to be in. You want them coming to you. So in the second luncheon, what I did was I said, when you came in, I gave you a folder. I'd like to have you get this sheet out, and I'll collect the sheet, and then we'll have lunch. So I let them fill this out, and then I go to the between them and the food, and I collect them, and then we have lunch. I had one show up in my mailbox a while back, and then I have brunch with Fred. Fred's one of my private lenders. We'll do coffee or tea, and one day he wanted to do brunch, and sitting across tables, 3 folks I didn't know, and halfway through the brunch, the guy in the middle shoved that form across the table. He wanted in. I didn't even know he had the form. Fred gave it to him. How would you like to do a luncheon? How would you feel with a system that you could get up to speak to a small group of folks? When I ask this question where I speak all over the nation, I'll have about 85% of the room raise hands. Some people even raise both hands. They get so excited about it. Well, let's go the other way with it. How would you feel uncomfortable standing up in front of 20 people because you're more afraid of public speaking? What do people say about speaking in front of groups? That they're more afraid of speaking than death. Well, what's that say about the typical funeral? You'd rather be in the box and give a eulogy? That's not the answer. The answer is just do one-on-ones. Half my students are doing one-on-ones and amassing millions of dollars. And then what happened is I created a time-saving checklist. On it was location, where I wanted to have it, advertising, reservations, handouts, and much, much more. The backbone of my systems in my company are checklists. I love checklists. I got to tell you, when I had my first group meeting, I thought I'd be having meetings with private lenders every month for the rest of my life. So I wanted to put together a checklist. So I did it consistently and had in there what worked and took out what didn't work and get it dialed in. Well, what happened was I had 2 luncheons, and I'd amassed $1 million. I added it up, and I had $1 million to go buy property. How many times would you like to do luncheons if you could amass $1 million out of 2 luncheons? Well, I got students even doing better than that. So I thought this checklist would just be me using it for the rest of my life, and actually it's used throughout the United States, Canada, Australia, and some other foreign countries now. So it's just incredible the difference it's made for real estate investors. So this is the start of the roadmap, is this checklist. And it's so powerful and so well put together that folks just love it. Let me tell you how I ended up being here today doing this training and an expert with private money. Let me take you back in time. When I started out, I was at negative $10,000 in debt when I quit that job, and I had these 2 luncheons, and what that did was it righted my business ship, my financial ship, and I was able to continue my education. Remember, I said the foundation of this business is education. It sure is. And so I went to a live event, a boot camp, and the guy running the show, he went around the room on the first day and asked each person to contribute on what they were doing different over the past year with their real estate business. And I got to tell you, I didn't know what the heck I was going to say. I was like a deer in headlights. I was he didn't get to me till about past halfway in the room, and just before he got to me, I had a light bulb going. I thought, I'm going to talk about private money in these 2 luncheons, and then he'll leave me alone. And I won't have to do this again. Well, he got to me, and I didn't like speaking in front of crowds, but I thought, I'll just contribute, and that'll be it. All these other people had wonderful things that they were working on. So he got to me, and I said, well, I had these 2 luncheons, and he said, well, that's great. He says, I'm going to have you speak in Cashiers, North Carolina next month. I about hit the floor. I wasn't a speaker. I didn't want to go. And I wrestled with it. I didn't know what to do, but I found out that he had some great speakers coming in, and I could get some great training. And so I went. What the heck? What do I have to lose? And it was a 3-day event, and went through the first couple of days. I sat in the back of the room, and he never paid any attention to me. And I thought, I'm going to escape and get out of here without having to do this. And so right before lunch on day 3, he looked up and he said, hey, Alan, come on up here. Let's see what you got. Now, I got to tell you, my knees are knocking. My hands instantly were sweaty. I didn't want to get up. Everybody's looking at me, though, and I was committed. And I thought, I'll get up here. I'll do this for 20 minutes and be done with it. And so I went up. And I put on a presentation just like they were there to loan me money. And I looked out, and people were taking notes. And when I got done, hands went up, and they started asking me questions. And they pounded me with a lot of questions. And somebody asked me to lunch. Now, I got to tell you, they didn't know who the heck I was for 2.5 days. And here's somebody wanted to go to lunch with me. Well, I'll be darned if there wasn't 3 carloads packed full of real estate investors taking me out to lunch. They seated me at the head of the table. They asked me more questions. They took more notes. Somebody bought my lunch. I thought, this is a good day. And I remember driving back to the afternoon session, pulling into the gravel parking lot, and there's a guy looking for me. Now, sometimes that can be bad news. Well, this happened to be great news. This guy comes running up, and he says, Alan, I want to buy your slides. I was stunned. I stuttered. I said, well, my slides aren't for sale. He reached in his pocket, and he pulled out his checkbook. He wrote me a check, and I handed him my slides. I didn't know they were for sale until I saw that check. And I stumbled up to the door of the meeting room for the afternoon session, and there's a lady there, and she says, Alan, I've been looking all over for you. I want to buy them slides. I said, well, some guy in the parking lot just bought them. She said, that's okay, send me some. And she wrote me a check. And I went in, and I got ready to sit down, and a guy comes running up. And he said, he's out of breath. He says, Alan, I want to buy them slides. Now, by then, I knew something good was going on. I just didn't know what to do with it. The guys running the show, he said, Alan, you've got something great that real estate investors need to learn about. And the next month, he had me up in front of 150 folks in Jacksonville, Florida, and it hadn't stopped since. I do about 30 to 40 real estate meetings with RIAs a year and other promoters, and I do about 80 webinars. And so it's changed my life, and it's changing the lives of real estate investors because they know how to get private money. In fact, let me tell you what Marcus Lackey told me. He says, as a result of your suggestions, we were able to host an incredibly successful private investor seminar at the Army Navy Club. This event marked the end of the wholesaling period. Now, let me stop right there. He was a wholesaler, and he wanted to get into more money. And he said, and we became in the beginnings of being the deal maker that buys deals from others. So rather than him being a wholesaler, he's buying them from wholesalers. National Real Estate Investor of the Year. Never rule anybody out. Even people you went to high school with. Private lenders can come from the most unlikely places. I had a high school buddy. He got one of those rent-to-own businesses, and then he sold it for $2 million. Good candidate for a private lender. Now, where you're going to meet him, if it's a one-on-one, I have an opinion. Unless it's mom, I wouldn't meet him at their house. I prefer a neutral location because if you go to their home, you got interruptions. You got people coming to the door and phone ringing and dog running through the house. So I'd meet them at a restaurant or if you got an office there. Group meeting, like I said, someplace that doesn't have karaoke going on. You want a nice, quiet place and make it comfortable. What would I bring? Well, I created a credibility kit, and I think you should have one too, regardless of your level of expertise. Let me give you the breakdown on mine. I have a page on me, a page on the company. I wanted to illustrate my education, but how do you get that? I mean, they don't give us certificates and stuff when you go to events or when you buy home study systems. One night I realized that Office Max sells certificate paper, so I just went out and bought a pack of blank certificates and made my own, put them in my credibility kit. IRA packet, you've got some homework after this training, is find a company that is friendly to real estate investors and get their IRA information. Ask them to send it to you so you can hand it out to people that have those 401ks that have quit, retired, or gotten laid off. Calculator, you got that in your cell phone. Gifts, I take a plastic ink pen, red, white, and blue, with my company phone number on it and website. And then business cards. The word of caution there is don't use those motivated seller type business cards that we get to find property. Look at a business card that's more in tune with what a banker would get or give. And I also bring a lender packet. What's that? Well, I wasn't very fancy about this. I just took a plain manila envelope and I put in there a letter of introduction, how their money is secured, and a promissory note. So I'm sure you can fancy that up if you want to, but it worked for me. Who are not your prospects? Well, people that want to visit your property before they lend. They're trying to qualify you. I learned early on that that's not where I wanted their head out. I didn't want them. I didn't want their head in there trying to qualify me every time I was trying to buy a property, whether they wanted in or out. I want their head over where the interest is, on how much interest I'm paying, because I'm going to move from property to property typically, and I don't want them stopping me on any property. And people who want points and loan fees, those are actually hard money lenders. People that can't follow up on decisions they make. Now, you might be afraid that that's going to happen a lot. It's a rarity. If somebody has money on a CD, you're going to get the money because they're getting a paltry low rate of return on a bank CD, and you can pay a lot more than that. Or if they got money on a 401k and they're going to roll it over, my numbers are about 85% of the folks I meet that have money in IRAs are going to roll them over. So the numbers are in your favor. People that can't make a decision, you go to Aunt Gertrude and she says, "Oh, let me think about it." And you go back next week and say, "Oh," she'll say, "Oh, let me think." You know, some people can't tell you no. I want you to move on. The position I want you to be in is you tell somebody what you do, you follow up one time, because 60% of your money comes from follow up, and then you move on. Don't ever go back there again. Let them come to you after that. And then obviously people that ought to be spending their money on groceries. Who are your prospects? They're green flags. People, not institutions. And I need to get that embedded in your head. We're looking for ordinary people that have money to loan out there. We're not looking for lending institutions or hard money lenders. People got excess capital, that they hit your minimum. You need to have a minimum. That's your second piece of homework after this training. What is the minimum that you want to come up with? Don't get too hung up on that, because you can change it the next day, okay? And you can change it after that. So but just have a minimum so that you aren't wasting their time and your time on that. And it's primarily middle class is what I found. Don't assume that they're all millionaires or multi-billionaires. Your posture is this: some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. Just think about that. Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. Somebody's out there needs you, needs what you have. I don't want you to beg. I don't want you to plead. I don't even want you to ask twice. I want you to get out and tell people you pay a high rate of return and move on. Just keep that in mind. Move on. When you borrow from the right type of lender, you make the rules and things go smoothly. Anything else just isn't worth it. You get some of your profit when you buy. Always remember that. I gave you that illustration earlier on that ranch home where you get some of your profit when you buy. My basic rules is lenders do not approve my purchases. High dollar lenders don't get a higher rate. And second mortgages don't get a higher rate. I just lay it out. This is the rules. This is my program. That's what I call it. And they're either in or out. You're borrowing money to buy a property and putting a mortgage on the property. And when you sell it, you're paying back the money with interest. You just keep it simple. You're not doing anything fancy. You're not selling shares in your company. The best benefit is you can do more deals and more profitable deals using private lenders. And everybody wants that. And forget banks. Would you like to do a deal and never talk to a bank again and do a lot of deals and not talk to a bank? You know, in fact, private lenders will bring you more private lenders, which is amazing. But once they get out and they find out what a good deal you got, they will bring you more private lenders. Have you ever had a bank bring you more banks? No, that don't happen. But private lenders will bring you more, really, more banks, more people, private lenders. IRA is the greatest source of funds. Like I said earlier, this is the pot of gold. Half of my lenders have IRAs. You can virtually triple their return. Now, you can't lend up and down the family chain. You can't lend to your parents. You can't lend to yourself. You can't lend to your kids. I'm talking IRA money here. Back when I was talking about my mom and the money she had on CDs, that was non-IRA money. It wasn't IRA. It was just money she had that she put on a bank CD. But if you got somebody that has an IRA, whether it's on a CD or a self-directed IRA or whatever, then you can't lend it up and down the family chain. But you can to brothers and sisters. That's okay. And you're actually creating your own bank of money. Here's what I saw in the Wall Street Journal. Through a little-known tool known as a self-directed individual retirement account, individuals can pursue a wide variety of investments from real estate to businesses. Now at least several thousand people are trying to goose their retirement savings by using self-directed IRAs to invest in mortgages. I've been teaching real estate investors this for years, and here the Wall Street Journal is talking about it. Now, on these IRAs, I've talked a little bit about that. I want to show you how easy it is to help your private lenders get set up in an IRA. Step number one is open up the account. Now, here's what I do. Is myself, my office manager, we are skilled at filling out the paperwork for the company we've selected. And we can fill out some of the information, not all. We can put down like the private lender's address and their name, things like that. But we can't put down their signature, can't put down their account numbers. And so what we do is we put those tags, those tape tags, little flags on there where they can know where we want them to fill in information. And I always check the box that says help pull the money over from, let's say their money's on Schwab, and now you want to roll it over into a self-directed IRA with a company that's friendly to real estate investors. You check, Schwab doesn't want, let's say it's $500,000. Schwab doesn't want to let go of the money, but the new company that you're moving it into, they want it. So check the box that says help move the money, and then that'll eliminate number 2, which is the rollover. If you haven't checked the box, then you have to roll the money over, which is another form. The third form is the one we care about, which is the direction of investment. That directs the money down to your closing table. And here again, I fill out what I can and then give it to the lender. And then number 4 is the coupon. On the coupon, that's the one they care about because that's when you pay them back. If you're paying a monthly, then every month you have a coupon and a check, stick it in an envelope, mail it into the IRA company. If you letting the money accrue, then at the end, then it would have principal and interest in there, and that takes the money back into their account. Now I've got a luncheon alternative. I rather than going to a luncheon, in fact, this is my most favorite way of finding private lenders. It's my audio business card. This is an audio CD, 22-minute CD that sells a potential lender on loaning you money. You just give it away. Just give it away. That's what I like the best. How do you like the ability to make offers with confidence? Can you see, are you getting now to where you understand that once you have backing of $500,000, $1 million, $5 million, can you see the confidence you're going to have to go out and buy properties at will? If you see something you like, you just go buy it. Some lenders are going to have questions. You need to be able to answer those. And once you answer their questions, there's really no reason for the lender not to loan you money. You probably got some questions about how you should handle things. So let me answer a handful here. Do you need a license to borrow money? No. You do not need a license to borrow money or to lend money from your own IRA. But if you're going to borrow money and then loan it to somebody else, so if I borrow money from you and I loan it out to another real estate investor, and I make a percentage in the middle, that's what a hard money lender does, like 5 points, a percent of the deal, then yeah, in every single state you got to be licensed. So if you're going to run it as a business and be a hard money lender, then you do. But just for going out and borrowing money, no, you don't. What do you do if the loan from one lender will not cover the required funds of the property? Well, you got a couple options. One is to do what I do, which is I stack mortgages. The bigger chunk of money, the lender with the bigger chunk, they're going to get first mortgage. The next lender or the smaller chunk will get a second mortgage. So there's no limit to the number of mortgages you can have on a property. Another way to do it is to fill out some paperwork with the SEC, and you could pool money. And for bigger deals, I've got a lot of students doing that. What documents do they get? Well, in my world, they get a mortgage, a promissory note, hazard insurance, lender title insurance, and a disclosure statement. We have to include that. When dealing with private lenders, you have to give them a disclosure statement. And really, it's for your safety. If I went to you and I said I pay 7% and you walk away thinking I pay 9%, that's a problem. Whereas if I put it in writing, you'll know exactly what I'm doing. How do you get the money to the closing? The best way is a wire. And if you have Aunt Gertrude ask you, when you sell the property, will you keep my money and keep paying me interest? The answer there is that's not my program. And what you want to do is give the money back, because you have promised Aunt Gertrude that the money is secured by real estate. And in doing so, if you keep the money in what I call the gap between when you sell a property and get your next property, then the money's not secured. It's not on a property, and therefore you've broken your word. Now, whether you're a beginner or seasoned investor, let me ask you, do you think acquiring private lenders could help your business? When I ask this in crowds, in meetings, everybody's raising their hand on it. Seasoned investors, can you imagine the wealth building opportunities you've lost over the years because you failed to get private lenders? And just tell your new lenders that you're looking for folks that want to get in on the ground floor. That's very powerful. You're looking for people who want to get in on the ground floor. Using private lenders is the best because it puts you in control of your financing. If that's the only thing that private money does, then that's good enough to go out and get private monies immediately. If it puts you in control, that is huge, because any other method that you're using, you aren't in control. It's the easiest because it's not a lot of work. I'm into that. It's the cheapest because the most expensive funding you will ever have the day you can't close, yes or yes. No question about it. And it's the safest because you can borrow extra so you don't run out of cash. Remember that extra money I took? Best, easiest, cheapest, and safest. There's no other funding source, none, that can match all four of these. And this private lender concept is revolutionizing our business. Just imagine one person giving you private money. What would that do for you and your family? Here's a letter I got from one of my students. His name's Troy Wilkinson. He said, Alan, we were blown away by your program. Talk about a paradigm shift. After 20 minutes of presenting your private lending slide presentation in his office on our laptop, he interrupted and asked, what could you do with $1 million? None of us could sleep that night. Troy didn't know anything about private money until he met me. He got involved with my system, and 20 days later, he had $1.4 million. And that lender is a millionaire connected to other millionaires. Troy said, I know what some of you think, and some of you think, hey, Alan, I'll just go ask Uncle John to be my lender. And I'm glad that you're thinking about somebody to loan you money. That's exactly how you want to start out. That's what I did with my mom. But I got to caution you, you got to be prepared. Why risk getting caught off guard with questions you can't answer? Let's say you go to Uncle John and he asks you one question and you can't answer it. And because of that, he doesn't loan you money. It's hard to go back to the well a second time. Without the right approach, you could be dismissed as a fly-by-night. So it's hard to ask somebody for money after you've stumbled. And I know from going through this training, especially if you've never heard of private money before, it's probably like drinking out of a fire hose. But it's okay. I've got a way where you can get some additional training. Now, the rules are easy to follow but hard to find. And you got two options. You could research it yourself, or you can get it for free here. And notes and memory. I'm a note taker, and I encourage you to take a couple notes during this training. But where do those end up? You need more than that. You need a system to get you where you want to go. In memory, we think we're going to remember everything, and we forget half within 24 hours. You got to have a system. The exact system that others have used to amass millions of dollars, and it's a very simple and easy to use system. I want to introduce you to my Millionaire system. There is the home study system that I am known for. It's called my premium system. And let me tell you a little bit about it. It's got my 37 blue slides that got me $1 million with my 2 meetings. All the advertising is done, complete scripts, and don't overlook that, because you get to use my words to help you find private lenders. And private lenders loan you money based on the fact that they trust you. And so your credibility is important. So you shouldn't stumble and bumble when you're talking to them. You want to make sure that the scripts, the words you say, is crafted. And that's what I've done for you. There's a special report for lenders that you hand out. It is 12 questions that lenders typically ask or is curious about. I put them into a special report that you can hand out to them, and they can read them at their leisure, and it'll help them come back to you and loan you money. And all the work's done for you. Listen to this. There is no form CD. There's 24 great forms, but no form CD, because I paid a webmaster to create a website. When I'll give you the password, and you go to that website, you put in your name, what interest rate you want to pay, what your phone number, you hit the enter button, and bang. In less than 10 minutes, all 24 forms are filled out with your information, and you're ready to go find lenders. How would you like to be ready to find lenders within 10 minutes? Just think about that. And one of those 24 forms is the 37 blue slides. You can explode your money supply with these 4 surefire marketing tools: an ultramagnetic postcard and newspaper ad for you to raise millions of dollars, and a trifold brochure to establish credibility, and a phone script to excite and reassure prospective lenders. On the forms download, you not only get the forms that I created, but I hired an SEC attorney to research every state, and you get the state forms. So whatever state you put in, you will get the forms for your state. Now, why is that important? Well, if you want to advertise, then you need to fill out some forms. Now, you can go to an SEC attorney, and they can fill it out for you from scratch, or you could take these forms, put your name, your address, things you know in there, and then go to the attorney. I'm not saying avoid the attorney. I'm going the other way. I want you to work with an attorney. But then it should save you some money, because you've filled the documents out for them ahead of time. So this is the template that you go to after you hit the enter button and filled out the information I talked to you about. At the top there, that download at the very top, that's my 24 forms, all filled out with your information, ready to download to your computer and ready to go find private lenders. And then in my case, I live in Ohio. I put the state of Ohio in there. That's the attorney forms when you're ready for them. And then if you want to look at the 24 forms individually, then you can do that down below that, where it says second mortgage example and clamshell cover. That's a clamshell for the audio business card. You can preview it, or you can download it. Also, I've got a learning library, the Private Lending Learning Library, which is 8 audios of me teaching you exactly how to find and convert people into private lenders. It teaches you how to acquire private lenders and how to convert them into private lenders. And then you'll be able to answer the toughest lender questions with confidence. Remember I talked to you about Uncle John and not being able to answer questions? Well, this is where the meat comes from, right here in the audios. You know the right way to position yourself to overcome lender skepticism and win their trust. You got a quick start manual. I want you to hit the ground running. There's 5 steps to implementing this. The first step is to listen to those 8 audios. I've seen my students many times before they get to the last audio already have their first private lender. I mean, you talk about me making it so easy for you to get lenders. I also give you a manual, though, and an audio CD, because I want you to hit the ground running. I want you to have the information right up front. It gives you insights of what to do behind the scenes and what I did, and it answers a lot of key questions out there. Plus, the audio business card I talked about. You get that. You get duplication rights on that. It's a super marketing tool. Everything to create that cover and everything is in the downloads. And you just hand this thing out, and you can duplicate it and hand it out to your heart's content. This is my favorite way of finding private lenders, and I need to tell you something I did. I'm so tickled about this. Rather than me having my voice on there, what I did was I hired a radio talk show host. He's on the radio because he's got a great voice. And so I gave him the script and put his voice on the CD, so when you hand it out, you come across extremely professional. And credibility. Private lenders loan you money based on the fact that they trust you. I talked to you a little bit about my credibility kit. I'm going to give you mine on a CD-ROM, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Pop it in there, see the page on me, the page on the company, those certificates I talked about, and so much more that I didn't have time to talk about. Just do what I did and create your credibility kit. You can use this system for luncheons or one-on-one meetings, whatever your heart desires. And the premium system has been newly updated, so you're getting state-of-the-art stuff. I've got a second home study system. It's called my wealth management system. It was born out of necessity because of the success my students were having with the premium system. They had to play the role of a bank, so I decided to become a recluse for a couple months and put this system together for them because I was getting all kinds of questions on how do you manage a private lender once you get them. What documents do the lenders get? What closing costs are involved? Should you give the lender an appraisal? How do you deal with the promissory notes? When do payments start? When do they stop? I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's you get the idea. There's many more than maybe some that you would ask. This program answers them all in a very simple and straightforward and systematic way. Here's what you get. You get the manual, the Essential Guide to Managing Private Money Manual, an 8-pack of powerful CDs so you can handle the private lender process with ease. Now you had an 8-pack learning library with the premium. Now you got a second 8-pack with the well system, so we're up to 16. And then complete IRA information, including key documents, forms, reports, and a CD-ROM filled with necessary letters and forms that I have created for you to use. And it's the ones I use in my office. The system covers the entire A to Z proven process for managing private lenders with the competence and confidence of a seasoned banker. There's no trial or error, no stress or fear of failure, no wasted time or money or energy. It will save you hundreds of hours and thousands of wasted dollars. Most importantly, you can use it as soon as you get it and hit the ground running. What you'll be able to achieve is prevent disputes with your lenders. Now, I got to tell you, I have never, ever had a dispute with a lender, ever. I've been in this business for 2 decades, had private lenders for nearly 2 decades. And I've had a lot of lenders, done a lot of deals, and I've never had the first dispute. You should learn from somebody that's never had a dispute from a lender, and that's exactly the information that I put into the wealth system to keep you doing things the way I do them. I treat my lenders like gold. It gives you the right time and way to get money from the lender, streamline lender maintenance activities so they don't eat up your time, shows you how to keep positive cash flow, correctly close escrow so lenders can reinvest their money, and the ins and outs of setting up and using IRAs for you and your lender benefit. Here's what Lee Brown said. He said, I'm currently on the 3rd listen through your wealth management system. It's truly awesome. Thanks again. Now, I've got a third item. It's the SEC Learning Library on 8 attorney-created audios. This is another 8-pack, so now we're up to 24 audios, but these are attorneys. When I hired that attorney, he researched the United States, and we recorded these. It gives you the knowledge of what you can do and how to do it, knowledge of what's not allowed, so you can stay safe. The very first audio alone has 12 must-know items. That's questions I ask him that you need to know when you're dealing with private lenders and the SEC. What would you have to pay to have all the money you ever need? Well, let's say I give you 80 hours to go learn everything you can on private money. And let's say your time's worth $50 an hour. That's $4,000 of your time. And maybe you aren't making $50 an hour right now, but isn't that why you're on this training? To do that and much, much more. And then 100-hour to put together a presentation, that's $5,000. And you're saying, my gosh, why 100 hours? It's because that's what I've got in the 37 slides. You see, I was out of work. I had a meeting coming up. I want to make sure that I hit a grand slam out of the park home run, and the slides flowed and the words came in when they were supposed to, and I nailed it. And then you got to go test it. I'll give you 20 hours to go test yours. That's $1,000. Mine's tested throughout the United States, Canada, Australia, some other foreign countries. Probably tested right in your backyard. And the reason I've been around so long is because my system works. It works, and it's easy to use and easy to learn from. And then you got to hire an attorney. 20 hours of attorney time, that's $200. That's way low. I need to change that. That's $4,000. I pay one of my attorneys $325 an hour. That adds up to $14,000. I can't charge that for the 3 systems. $10,000? Well, I've been invited to teach at a private lending boot camp, and that's what they charged for their boot camp, and I was the keynote speaker, and they were teaching on private money. The real world value of the three systems is $2,391. That's a la carte. I'll show you what the prices are in just a second. But I want to tell you about Gil Mack first. He calls himself the millionaire in the making. He says, however, yours is specific and complete and goes step by step just the way us reptile brains need it. I love that line. So not only am I going to do a luncheon, I'm training a staff member to do it as well. Thanks for the confidence boost and the tools to work with. Now, Gil Mack's doing luncheons, right? Let's talk about Tony Braddock. He's doing one-on-ones. He said, I raised private money from one-on-ones presentations. That's the exact split of my student base. He said, I quit my Fortune 500 six-figure income job and 70-hour work week. It's truly been awesome, and it's changed my life forever. I'm hoping to get a testimonial like that from you. Here's what you're going to get. The premium system is $997. The Well system sells for $797. The SEC Learning Library sells for $597. That adds up to $2,391, just like I said. Do you really think you can learn all the ins and outs on those 80 hours I gave you to learn what you can? Where are you going to go? You go to the internet? Can you get bad information on the internet? You see, I put my heart and soul into these three systems. You have a laser beam approach on how to find private money. It is the quickest, easiest path to find private money and to do it safely. One of the things I wanted to tell you, in the premium system, there are 4 chapters on the SEC in the back of the system, along with the 8 audios. So you get a ton of great information about the SEC, along with how to acquire and attract and manage private money. Now, here's what Sherman Ragland said. He's a radio talk show host on real estate up in the D.C. area. He said, Allen's system is the only real estate investor system I've ever seen that's truly ready to go as soon as you open the box. That's a big compliment right there. I personally obtained a copy of Allen's system, and 2 weeks later, I was advising others to do the same. He knows what he's talking about, and his integrity shines throughout his materials. Alan Cowgill is without a doubt America's #1 educator today on the topic of how to raise large amounts of real estate capital through private lenders. That's a great testimonial from a great guy. How about a list of private lenders? You know, everybody wants private lenders. How about if I just give you a list? This is bonus #1. I got a hot list of private lenders. I'll teach you how to use it and how to be safe. You go to this website right here, and you go up here, and right here, you sift and sort to your heart's content. If you want to save it, you go over here. If you want to mail to them, the letter's already done. You can go that. Now there's an extra fee on that because we had to hire somebody to do that and, you know, stamp the envelopes and all that. And then I've got some compliance information down here. Now, this site is free for 90 days, and if you like it and you want to stay with it, then there is a fee. So that's $2,000 right there at private lender list. Now, why $2,000? Well, it's updated every month. We have to go and scrape the whole United States for people that have loaned money. And so it cost us a lot more than that to get it. So you got the premium system for $997, the Well system $797, the SEC Learning Library $597. Bonus #1, a private lender list, even if you do it for your area. It's so time consuming, and we have to scrub the information after we get it. It could cost you that just for your area. That's $4,391. And then how would you like me to supply the cash to fund a deal? This is money for a day. This is where you would buy and sell in the same day. Sometimes you have to be in the chain of title, and you have to have money to fund it. You get a proof of funds letter in 30 seconds. You go to my website, fill out a template, and we send you back a proof of funds because everybody's approved. You're approved because the money never leaves the closing table. There is no credit checks. So the offer here is the premium system, the wealth management system, the SEC Learning Library, the private lender list, and then transactional funding. It adds up to $4,891. And then I interviewed one of my private lenders. I wanted to show you how easy it is for us to get money and how they need us worse than we need them. And so I interviewed one of my great private lenders, and you get a 45-minute audio on why they loan us money. And I call it my fear elimination audio because you should not be afraid to approach a private lender because they need us worse than you need them, and we're actually doing them a favor. So bonus #3 is you get that. You get free upgrades for life. That's my life, and that's so important. So the premium system, $9.97 Wealth Management, $7.97 SEC Learning Library. Bonus 1, the Private Lender List. Bonus 2, Transactional Funding. Bonus 3, the Fear Elimination Audio. And 4 upgrades for life. Now, why is $1,000? Well, I've seen some people charge a couple $100 to get a free to get an upgrade. It's not free; they got to pay for it. And so, if I do that over the lifetime, I go through and I give people free upgrades. Over time, you could get into that if I charge for it, but I want to take care of you, and it's very important to me that you get the most up-to-date information. So it's free with me. Other people, I've heard them charge for it. So that's $5,916. And I'm not through. I've got a hotline certificate. Well, I will work with you for a year. And the year starts when you want it to start. If you got life things that you got to deal with for the next 3 months, that's fine. Whenever you want, you can shoot me an email and we will get started. You get my personal fax, personal email. Doesn't go through my office, doesn't go through anybody else, comes right to me. Now, I'll tell you, my time is limited. I got a family that they like to see me every now and then, and I spend a lot of time with my students because I love to answer your questions. In fact, when you send me a question, put your phone number down, because so many times I'll just pick up the phone and call you if I want to make sure that we're on the same beam on what I want you to do. I need to limit this, unfortunately. I hate to do that because I love answering questions of my students, but it's 19. So first 19 that jump all over this, you get me. Let me tell you a little bit about it. You need this because you get answers to questions. It's going to take you maybe years to learn on your own if you're new. You see, I've been in this business for years, and I can answer your questions in a nanosecond. You'll be able to move fast on deals because I'm in your corner. And just so you know, if you aren't one of the first 19, you do get my skilled office staff that can answer your questions. But if you want to work with me, I need to have you jump all over this right now because it gives you direct line right to me. In fact, Ted Schilling, he was one of the first ones that got it, and he said, I got my first lender after we talked on the phone. He did just what I said. He put his phone number down. He sent me an email. I called him up. I said, Ted, what do you need? He said, I want to get out of my job. I'm working my fingers to the bone in this job. He said, I want to be a full-time real estate investor, and the avenue out is private money. And I'm taking a guy to the airport, and I don't know what to say to him. I said, Ted, you got it. I said, it's in the premium system. You got my script there. He said, yeah, Alan, but we're leaving in 15 minutes. I don't have time to dig for it. Can you help me? I gave Ted the exact script that was in my system, and on the way to the airport, the guy loaned him enough money so Ted could quit his job. So $500,000. So that's how important this is. Now, you get the premium system, $9.97, the wealth management, $7.97, SEC Learning Library, $5.97. That is the core of the system, and then you get some cool bonuses: the private lender list, transactional funding, fear elimination audio, the free upgrades, and now me for a year. Hotline, $2,000. Why $2,000? Well, it's because we're going to spend some time together during that year, and I charge people if they come in and they want 1 day mentoring. Then I charge for that, and it's $7,000 a day. So I just figured, well, if we talk a few times, well, we're going to eat that up over a period of time. So that's $7,916. When you think about your options, if we go back and revisit this, you're not in control of your financing. If you're going to a bank, they're in control. They're pulling the strings, and a lot of times they'll turn you down. And if they charge you 20% down on that, that's a showstopper by itself. And then lines of credit, you max it out, you shut your own business down, and the bank can pull that at any time. Hard money lenders, that's the ugliest one on the chart. It's the most expensive one. You're better off if you're the hard money lender because you got so much private money you can not only use it in your deals that you could be a hard money lender. And then creative financing, which we all do. But if you don't have money to give the seller walking money or the rehab, then you're dead there too. How are you going to fund your deals if you don't get private money? Well, it's going to be these, and they're pretty ugly, to be honest with you, if you don't have the money. See why it's a good deal at $7,916. Well, because you're special and you've taken the time to go through the training, I want to make you a great deal. You can start right now for $997 today. And I want you to do on this. I want you to do it. I want you to jump all over this $997. You get a heck of a deal. If all this did was finally make your business profitable and more profitable, would it be worth it? No question. Pays for itself. If it gave you the gentle kick in the butt to get you moving, would it be worth it? Because some of you need that. Would it give you access to millions of dollars a phone call away? That's what you're looking for. That's the bottom line. And that's what my system does for folks. Would it be worth it in your life? Would it enable you to do your first deal if you're a beginner? Would it be worth it? The answer is yes. Well, get started right now. It's $9.97 today. If you wait, everything goes back up to the normal price, $2,391. You want to get started. That's without the bonuses. Get started right now at $9.97. I'd recommend that you click down on your browser right now and you go to allensoffer.com/cash if you haven't done that yet. allensoffer.com/cash. Or you can call 1-800-584-3346. 1-800-584-3346. And we got friendly operators standing by. Get a hold of them and then let us know one way or the other. And we'll get you started. And that'll be timestamped so I'll know when you came in. So anyhow, go to allensoffer.com/cash. I'll tell you what, I wish I would have had this training when I get started many, many years ago. You know, I had some ups and downs and on getting private money or getting money. And once I figured out private money, my life got a lot better. I learned a ton. I didn't know all the rules at first, but hiring that SEC attorney really helped me. The thing of it is, I've got that all sorted out for you, and I'm very pro attorney, but I got it sorted out in the system to get you out of the starting blocks on finding private money and doing it safely, and I point you in the right direction. So important to be safe, but also so important to know how to attract private lenders and how to convert them into private lenders. You know, without the system, I've been there early on, and they need us worse than we need them. But if you don't know the words to say, if you don't know the flow of the paperwork, you know, you're going to struggle a little bit. You know, the system that I just offered you pays for itself many, many, many times over in the first month just by giving you the ins and outs of how to get private money. You just go to allensoffer.com/cash or call 1-800-584-3346 and get started right now. You got nothing to lose. You got everything to gain in your business. You know, there's only 4 parts of a real estate deal at the very top level. Number 1 is you got to find the property. Number 2 is you got to fund it. Number 3 is you fix the property. Number 4 is you keep it long term or you flip it. If you can't get by this second item, you are dead in this business. You are flat dead in this business. You know, and so many people roll the dice and are going to banks or going to hard money lenders, and then they get shut off and they lose the deal, lose tens of thousands of dollars, all because they didn't have private lenders. You know, the power's in the cash. The power's in the money, where you can pick up the phone, order up money, and fund your deal within the same week. If you're going to a bank, you're 6 weeks out and all the good stuff's gone because the people that got private lenders are picking them up for cash. You need to, if you're going to be in this business, you need to be able to go out and do the same. And even if you only need one lender the rest of your life, it's such a blessing. It'll save you many, many, many times over on the closing cost on just one deal. Just one deal. You know, I remember closing with a hard money lender. And it was about a $100,000 loan. It was a $5,100 coming out of my side of the HUD-1. All because of their 5% that they took out on points, not counting the padded fees. Today, I can close with a private lender, and it's only $875. Where's that extra $4,100 going today? It's going in my pocket, and it ought to be going in your pocket. That's just one example of one deal. If you're in this business and you plan to be in this business the rest of your life or for a long time, then my Millionaire system will pay for itself many, many, many times over. You will love the training and love the education. Just go to allensoffer.com/cash or 800-584-3346. Get involved, get started. You will love my system.